Thank you, Sophie. Good evening to you. Coming up on BBC London.
That was probably the busiest train into work I've been on, I'd say.
Day 4 of the strike, and our reporter filmed her journey into work from Hertfordshire to central London, speaking to commuters along the way.
I might have to take a bus, but I was trying to avoid that in central London as it's going to be a whole mission.
It's inconvenient, but I completely understand why they're doing it.
We'll be answering some of the questions you've sent in, also tonight. Families of the victims of the Air India crash say they still haven't had answers or an apology about why their loved ones' remains were mixed up. Plus, Roman Kemp talks about teaming up with the Premier League for a cause close to his heart. And utter stardust for Ziggy fans as David Bowie's personal items, including some never seen before, go on display in East London. Hello and a very warm welcome to the programme. Here we are now, day 4 of this week's tube strike, and thousands of commuters, again, forced to find alternative routes to work, or if they can work at home. Others grappling to get to appointments. However, today, around 90 tube stations were able to open on a handful of lines, but not through central London. Our reporter Nikki Ford filmed her journey into work from Hertfordshire to here in central London, speaking to commuters as she went.
We're just getting on the train at St Kitts Station. It looks pretty busy. Let's see how many people we're getting on.
So I'm going into Holborn. It would normally take me about 30 minutes from Kilburn to get there, but trying to get the bus, can't get on because, it's always too full. So it's just been a faff, basically.
We've just got to West Hampstead and it's just got even busier.
Just getting off now, and my gosh, that was busy. That was probably the busiest train into work I've been on, I'd say.
I've just caught up with Amelia. It's raining now, isn't it, Amelia? How that's going to affect your walk?
I tried to find a line bike to quicken up my route. Couldn't find one, so I might have to take a bus, but I was trying to avoid that in central London as it's going to be a whole mission. But yeah, pretty much. I have an umbrella.
Sarah's at a bus stop near King's Cross going to the Garden Museum, which would be quicker by tube.
It's inconvenient, but I completely understand why they're doing it. That's just the way it is.
Of course, not everyone is so supportive. Chris emailed in to say they're a teacher who works with children with special needs and had a long journey in. Had to leave at 6:15. It took 3 hours standing squashed with many others. It was absolutely unbearable, and I was late for the children who need routine. And Alan told us yesterday,
my frail wife had a cancer treatment appointment today at St George's in Tooting. The buses were so packed we had to ask people to give her a seat. We're not going out for the rest of the week.
it's raining quite hard now and I've just started a half-an-hour walk into work. And on the way, I'm going to try and stop at some businesses just to see how they've been getting on with the tube strikes. One cafe told me their customers were 85% down this week, affecting how much money they'd make.
No more than £300, 400, no more than that.
That's for the week, is it?
For the week, yeah.
While another is benefiting from new trade.
We have had more new people coming into the coffee shop, and I think those are the people who probably have to walk to work now, so taking a slightly different route. So it's been good to see new faces.
Well, I've just arrived into work and quite a few people have made it here clearly before me, because there are quite a few hire bikes outside the BBC.
And I'm pleased to say Nikki did get here and she joins me now. Another difficult day, clearly for many, as we saw there in your report. And looking ahead to tomorrow, the same again on the 5th and final day of this strike.
Yes, so tomorrow is, as you say, the 5th and final day of the strike. But tomorrow, just to also remember that there is walkout on the DLR as well. But if we just have a little look at what is going on with the tube map right now. So as you can see, most of the services are suspended, including Bakerloo, Central Districts, some of the major ones. But there has been Some good news for commuters, as around 90 stations have been opening, and that tends to be, though, towards the ends of the line, so towards the northern, the central, Metropolitan and district, but that is on the outskirts of London. But definitely most lines running through the centre of London have been are still closed and suspended. And we've also been having a look at our travel cameras as well, just to sort of see where the queues are, just to give you a picture of what's going on with people going home. So you'll see that Tottenham Court Road, things are busy, also in Paddington and Liverpool Street as well, long queues of people getting onto the Elizabeth line. And that's been a recurring theme, really, in terms of people using alternative ways to get around, because the Elizabeth line, of course, remains open. So a busy night out there for people trying to get home and navigate their way around.
Yeah, and the weather didn't look too great either.
That's another thing.
Nikki, thank you so much for that, and for filming your journey into work. Thank you. Nikki Ford there. Well, one of the key issues in this dispute is the RMT union's demands for their members to have a 32-hour week, which they say is about concerns over fatigue due to shift work. So how feasible is that, and what are the implications? Here is Matt Graveling.
For 14 years, this company in East London has been creating beautiful interiors inspired by nature. And for the last 6 years, it's achieved this with a shorter working week.
It just felt that we basically just wanted to give that time back and get a little bit of a better equilibrium, a better work-life balance for our team.
Frida, whose team comprises of around 50 people, says initially the model was run during the 5 quieter months, but has now been rolled out across the full year.
I think we spend a lot of time just making sure that we are balancing the company needs. Because we have a responsibility, a fiscal responsibility, and a responsibility to our people as well. And I feel we have arrived there.
Joe Ryle works for the 4-Day Week Foundation, who campaigned for a reduction in working hours. He says around 600 UK companies have adopted the model, and there's an average revenue increase of 35%. But could it work for TfL?
I've heard this even this morning, RMT saying some of their workers are really burnt out, really overworked. That's not a great situation. The aim is to get to a 32-hour working week, and I do think it's possible.
Does it make it harder because they're shift work and the tube runs effectively all the time?
Yeah, I think it makes it more complex to implement, but is it possible? Yes, absolutely.
But Transport for London disagree and say union demands for a shorter working week of 32 hours, down from 35, is unaffordable, adding that even a 30-minute reduction in hours costs £30 million. So, is there another way? Gene Marks is a columnist and business owner who deals with a number of other companies. He says the modern workforce now demands more flexibility, but a reduction in hours may not be the easiest sell to employers.
If you can still get the same amount of work done in 4 10-hour shifts instead of 5 8-hour shifts, you still have the same amount of work, same amount of hours that are being put in, but you are just being more flexible as to how those hours are applied.
For now, TfL continues to refuse any reduction in its staff's working hours. But while plans for shorter weeks remain a sticking point, for many London commuters this week will have felt a lot longer.
Matt Graveling there. Well, during this strike, you've been getting in touch with your questions, so thank you. And later, Alpa will help answer them, won't you?
Yes, I'm in the BBC London Lounge, from pricey taxis to TfL staff pay. I'll be digging into it all for you later.
Thanks very much, Alpa. And also still to come tonight, Stardust for Ziggy fans as the David Bowie archive, including costumes and instruments, get a new permanent home in East London. In other news, families of people who died when in the Air India crash in June say they still lack answers about why their relatives' remains were mixed up. One Londoner who lost both his parents says Indian officials are yet to apologise after a UK coroner found other remains in his mother's casket. Oliver Whitfield-Mirchich has the story.
You wake up every morning thinking, I'll pop round to mum and dad's, and you can't. They're not there.
Navigating grief amid a lack of information. It was hard enough when Miten Patel lost his parents in the Air India crash in June, but his sorrow deepened when another passenger's remains were sent back with his mother's. 3 months on, he still doesn't know why.
Getting them home was like, yes, okay, it's done. At least we have them. And then to find out that no, actually a blunder's been made, but then there's no accountability or responsibility taken from anyone right now. Has that been looked into? Where has that error part been notified? Where did it happen? Nothing.
We are in the airport, just boarding.
The family of Fingal Greenlaw Meek have told the BBC they were also sent the wrong coffin, which is understood to have caused a diplomatic incident between London and Delhi. The Indian government has previously stated that the bodies were handled with the utmost professionalism. Mitten says he feels left uninformed by the authorities in the UK too, after police officers who had been supporting the bereaved were withdrawn. He was told the Foreign Office would reach out, but he hasn't heard anything so far. In response, the Foreign Office said staff continue to support the families and loved ones in line with our consular remit. We've allocated dedicated caseworkers to each family who wish to have one. Meanwhile, lawyers representing 25 British victims have started the legal process to sue Air India in the High Court. But relatives say compensation comes secondary to getting the truth in a timely manner.
Dad was always one with a smile on his face. Mum was just the most loving, caring mum you can ever think of. You know, you just miss him a lot. A lot.
Oliver Whitfield-Miocic, BBC London.
Next, to a cold case about a murder which took place in London 50 years ago. 16-year-old Lynn Whedon, who was brutally killed walking home from school in Hounslow. Her killer has never been caught. There are concerns that whoever did it may have also raped and murdered another girl that same year. Anna O'Neill's report starts with one of Lynn's school friends.
Lynn was, I think, the cleverest in our year. She shone, and we all knew it, but she was modest with it and a good laugh.
In September 1975, 16-year-old Lynn Whedon from Hounslow was returning home from celebrating her O-level results when she was attacked in an alley near her home and thrown over the fence of an electricity substation. She died of her injuries a week later in hospital.
I found this, frankly, impossible to believe that anybody could have been attacked there in an alleyway we all used for school, and so close to Lynn's front door. I mean, we are talking yards. I mean, she was murdered, attacked and murdered within sight of her bedroom window.
That was me at the time of the murder.
The same year, 6 months earlier, Derek Carruthers was the first detective on the scene of another murder on the other side of London.
It wasn't the first murder I've been to, but it's certainly the most vicious type injury I'd ever seen.
Playboy hostess Eve Stratford had been attacked in Leighton, and that murder made headlines around the world. In 2006, DNA linked Eve's murder with Lynn's, and even though Derek had long since left the force, the cases never left him.
There was a possible serial killer there. You wonder what's happened in the last 50 years. Has he died? Has he gone off the radar? Has he moved away? That's where I would hope that DNA would eventually answer that question.
So this is the alleyway that Lynn would have walked down.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, short hedges. So close to where she was living as well.
Yeah.
Also keeping across both murders is private investigator Rory Mulholland, whose sister was a close friend of Eve's.
I didn't know Lynn at all, but they're connected, and I feel we need to be doing something for Lynn. It was low profile and it wasn't blown up in the media like Eve's murder was.
The Met Police has confirmed both cases as still live, and the DNA is one line of inquiry.
Advances in technology meant that in 2006 we were able to link Eve and Lynn's murders after the same DNA was found on both women. At this time there is no evidence to link the murders of Eve and Lynn to any other historic murder case, but we retain an open mind.
For Lynn's friends, the scar of her death has never been healed.
The trickle-down effect of a murder goes way beyond the immediate family, way beyond. And the effects, I believe, can last for decades.
Anna O'Neill, BBC London.
A brief look now at some of the day's other news. The head of the Metropolitan Police says live facial recognition, or LFR, has led to more than 700 arrests so far this year. Sir Mark Rowley called the tool game-changing, adding that 50 registered sex offenders in breach of their conditions were among those arrested. Critics say it treats people as potential suspects. And the latest Banksy work is being removed from the wall of the Royal Courts of Justice. The mural depicts a protester lying on the ground with a judge wielding a gavel. Police say it was reported as criminal damage. Now, he's best known to many of us as a TV and radio presenter, but Roman Kemp has long been an advocate for mental health awareness and support. He's spoken openly about the loss of a close friend by suicide. Now, as a huge Arsenal fan, he's teaming up with the Premier League to encourage anyone experiencing difficult thoughts to have that crucial first conversation. Chris Legg has been speaking to him.
For many people, their football club is like a family. For Roman Kemp, that family is Arsenal.
Football is the constant in my life. Things come and go in your life, but there's one thing that will always be there, and that's my love for my club. It's 90 minutes that removes me from whatever is going on in my life, and I love that more than anything.
Roman has long campaigned for better mental health support, something he explored in a 2021 documentary after losing a close friend to suicide the previous year.
It's something that is so hard to comprehend. It's grief on a different level that I certainly had never experienced. It comes with anger, it comes with confusion. Everyone that constantly I spoke to as well, they would always say, oh, that, you know, I said, what were they like? Did they show signs that they were struggling? And it was always, they were the last person you would have expected. And the reason behind that, again, is because they don't want to have that conversation with their friends, which is fine. But they also don't know where to go when it is a struggle.
So today he launched Together Against Suicide. Arsenal will offer a mental health matchday drop-in service. Other clubs will help connect fans to experts and charities like the Samaritans.
Football is one of the great common denominators. I think, you know, it interests people from all walks of life. It's got huge appeal. It really aligns with what we believe is one of the greatest things that we can do when it comes to people confronting suicidal feelings, which is talking and human connection. And I think football's all about that.
I think the one thing that people need to take with this campaign is that first conversation is everything. The first conversation statistically reduces your risk of dying by suicide, as I say, significantly. And I understand that people will say, I don't want to speak to a friend, I don't want to speak to a loved one, you know, I don't want to speak to colleagues. That's why I believe in the power of football, that someone will want to and trust their football club to help them in that time of need.
Roman Kemp there, and if you or someone you know may need support with mental health, the BBC has put together a list of organisations who can help in confidence. Search BBC Action Line, or you can hear recorded information on the number you can see there. OK, let's go back to our top story tonight and this week's tube strike. You've been getting in touch with your questions, and Alpa, who's in our BBC London lounge, has been going through them, haven't you? Hi, Alpa.
Hi, Riz. Yes, you've been sending in loads of your emails about your experiences and your questions. We've picked a handful of those questions to dig into, including this question from John.
About this tube strike, is he doing anything to help Londoners move around, like opening emergency car parks or scrapping the congestion charge or the ULEZ charge for a few days?
Thanks for that, John. So we went to TfL to ask them your question, and they directed us to this tweet from the Mayor of London, who says, "My message remains clear. I urge the RMT to get around the table with TfL so this dispute can be resolved." But we didn't feel like that answered your question, John, so we went back to TfL to ask them if they were going to suspend the ULEZ charge and the congestion charge, and they sent us this. There are no plans for that. So sorry if that isn't quite what you wanted, John.
Yeah. Short and sweet there. Alpa, and there are questions about pay.
Yeah, we've had loads and loads of questions about TfL workers' pay, including this one from David, who says, this latest strike is so inconvenient and inconsiderate. Don't they get paid enough? More than most, he says. Well, David, thank you for that question. Important to say that this dispute covers a broad range of jobs, including customer services assistants, who are paid around £38,000. Drivers are paid just around £72,000. Now, if you're asking how much the average salary in London is, well, that is around £42,500, according to the London data store. So thanks for that question, David.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for the answer, Alpa. And people have also been getting in touch about their experience of using alternatives to get around during the strike.
Yeah, you've been getting in touch about getting around on bikes, on scooters and in taxis. And some of you haven't been having the best time in those taxis, including this one from Luke.
Many taxi drivers have been exploiting commuters by raising fares ridiculously during the London tube strike. Is this legal?
So again, we went to TfL to ask them for their response. They said that black cab drivers are not permitted to charge more than the regulated metered fare. They said that TfL has no powers to regulate the fares charged by licensed private hire operators. So that might mean that prices do fluctuate and can be higher at times of demand. But TfL says currently legislation does not cover taxi booking platforms and apps. TfL also said that they are seeking powers to regulate taxi booking platforms and apps to provide additional protection for passengers. So that's all your questions for today. Thank you so much for all your questions and experiences. Keep them coming in. We love hearing from you. You can email us at hellobbclondon@bbc.co.uk. Back to you, Riz.
OK, Alpa, thanks very much. And of course, thanks for all your questions so far. As she said, keep them coming. Now to a cultural and musical legend, I think that's fair to say. He might have been the man who sold the world, but David Bowie actually kept a lot of mementos from his career. And this weekend, 90,000 items from his life are going on display in East London. Colin Patterson had a look round.
Behind the scenes at Bowie.
Hello and welcome to the David Bowie Centre at V&A East Storehouse.
This is a first look at the new East London home for David Bowie's archive.
So here we have 9 displays that look at different themes that explore the breadth of Bowie's creativity. Photographs, sketches, notebook pages, notes for project materials.
Why did he keep so much stuff?
Well, he wanted to, keep track of his legacy, and he had his own archivist that he worked with, and a cataloging team. So it was very professionalized.
While 200 items are on permanent display, a staggering 90,000 more are available on an order an object service, which allows visitors to pre-book some one-on-one time with their selection. And we were given a taste.
This is a very famous suit.
Yes, it is indeed. This is the suit that Bowie wore to perform at Live Aid in 1985. It's a beautiful suit, and we did find a packet of cigarettes in the pocket.
Really?
This is a real pop history item that members of the public can order.
Yes,
and have a
see
have a little look
yes.
inside.
Yes, yeah.
And many of these objects have never been seen before.
These are storyboards drawn by David Bowie for a potential film project of All the Emperor's Horses.
What do you make of his handwriting?
It's variable throughout the archive. This particular one isn't too bad.
It's terrible. I just sort of want to touch a post-it note that David Bowie has written.
You certainly can.
There we go.
Colin Patterson, BBC News, East London.
not quite the weather for dancing in the street, or perhaps it is. Let's find out from Darren, who's got the forecast for us. Hi there.
It's probably the weather for dancing in the street with an umbrella. Although, Riz, I didn't see anybody doing that when I came into work earlier on
Hardly
today.
surprising.
And I doubt I'll see anybody doing that this evening, I suspect. But tomorrow, we may actually get a little bit more sunshine than we had today. However, it's not going to be dry by any means. There will be some showers around, some quite cool winds as well. We saw the wet weather moving into the eastern side of the UK today. It's been bringing with it a lot of cloud. If we have a look at the radar picture, this is what we've seen over the past few hours. There's still some rain around at the moment. This is probably the last of it, this band of rain that we've got here, and that will push its way eastwards over the next few hours. So some wet weather around this evening, but then overnight it may well become dry and clear. A little bit breezy out there, and it's cooler air that's heading our way. So temperatures are going to be a bit lower than they were last night. Could get as low as 8, maybe 9 degrees by tomorrow morning. And first thing, it may well be dry, but I don't think it's going to be too long before the clouds build and we'll see some showers heading our way. And those stronger winds will feed in shower after shower during tomorrow. They may not last long because the winds are pushing them through fairly quickly, and there will be some sunshine in between those showers, but it may well feel a bit cooler tomorrow. We're looking at a top temperature, maybe 18 degrees or so. We still have low pressure close to the UK. It's really dominating this big picture that we've got here, and around that low we're feeding in these stronger winds and more showers. So we end the week again with a mixture of sunshine and showers. They may not get going quite so early on Friday. There may not be as many showers on Friday, and there may not be as heavy as we're expecting them to be tomorrow, where there could be some hail and some thunder. But those temperatures aren't changing too much. The winds won't be quite as strong as we head towards the end of the week and continue to fall a bit lighter on Saturday. But then on Sunday, we've got another area of low pressure coming in. That's going to be deepening as it sweeps our way, and it's going to be strengthening the winds as well. So as you can see from the outlook, it's staying really unsettled out there. We've got sunshine and showers for Friday and into Saturday before we see a spell of rain and stronger winds on Sunday. And that windy weather will continue into Monday, where again we'll see some sunshine and showers. Very unsettled, temperatures not changing, at best 18 or 19 Celsius. Riz.
Darren, thank you very much for that. Just before we go, a reminder of one of today's main headlines. Prince Harry has left Clarence House after meeting King Charles for the first time in over a year. It's understood the King had a private tea with his son during the meeting, which lasted just under an hour. And that is where we leave you on our website, of course. More on that story we also heard this hour about the universities of Greenwich and Kent merging to create the UK's first super university. Other stories on our Instagram, of course. But from me and the BBC London team, thanks for watching and have a good evening. Bye-bye.